and welcome back to Educator.com's Introduction to PHP course. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about how to provide input to your PHP script, and specifically how input is provided using the get HTTP method. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about a couple of different methods that are available for providing input to a script. We're going to talk in particular about the get method, which is what we're going to be using throughout this course. We're going to go do a slight review of HTML forms and then go over something known as URL encoding. So how do you provide input to a PHP script? Well, there are three basic ways that you can do that. There's two HTTP methods known as the get method and the post method. And if you've worked with HTML forms before, you may be familiar with that. There's also, you can use what are known as cookies to provide information as well. In this course, we're only going to be dealing with the get method, and the reasons for that are that the post and cookies method are somewhat more complicated advanced topics, so we're going to save them for the advanced course. And in addition, by using the get method, it makes debugging our scripts easier, and since we're just learning PHP and we're going to be making mistakes along the way, using the get method is going to help us with that. Now, the way these methods work, whether it's get, post, or cookies, they provide information to the script, to a script via name-value pairs. So, for example, you might have the name username, which is just a property, let's say called username, and you're going to set it the value jsmith, or the user in your using your HTML web page is going to set that value. This is a name-value pair, and what it's going to be done is going to be sent to the web server when the user submits a web page. So now let's talk a little bit more about the get method, the HTTP method get, and how it works to provide input to a PHP script, or in fact any other script. What it does is it appends the name-value pairs that we had just talked about, or any number of name-value pairs, to the destination script's URL, and it does so in the manner shown down here. So for example, we have a script named process.php, and using get, we want to pass it a name-value pair. In this case, we have name1 as the name and value1 as the one. They're just test or sample values for those. And the way you append them is with a question mark. And so anytime the get method provides input to a script, it does so using this appending stuff to the end of the URL. And when you append the name-value pairs to a URL, that's known as a query string. So everything after the question mark in this particular link is known as the query string, and it's composed of name-value pairs. Now, one thing to note is that the get method can actually be used to input data to a script using HTML forms, or it can be done manually. So when you actually have an HTML form, which we're going to get to in a little bit, you can set it to use the get method, and the HTML form automatically appends the name-value pairs you submit that are created by your form to the URL for you. You alternatively can do it manually as well, which we're going to look at a little bit towards the end of the lesson. So let's actually take a look at a script here created called simpleform.html. And basically what it is it just has a simple text field and a submit button. And again, we're going to get into forms in a little bit, but it uses the get method to submit things. And so if I type my name in, Matthew, and click submit, you can see up in the address bar of the browser that it's actually appended to the URL simpleform.html a question mark followed by text1 equals Matthew. Text1 being the name of the name-value pair, Matthew being the value that I supplied to the form. You can also see that it's the question mark has been appended to simpleform.html, which means when I submitted this form, I actually submitted it to the same page. In this case, it submitted it to an HTML page, simpleform.html. Now, because simpleform.html is just a raw HTML page, it doesn't know how to handle, or it doesn't have the capabilities to process any input passed in the URL via a query string. So in this case, it actually does nothing. And what we're going to be doing in this course is using PHP scripts to receive the input. And so instead of having simpleform.html followed by a query string, it might be simpleform.php followed by a query string. That's what it's going to do is load up a PHP script that's going to know how to extract the name value pairs from this query string. And we're going to begin talking about that in the next lesson. So one thing I wanted to note, if you can see here, we have Firebug set up at the bottom of Firefox, and the way you access that again is by clicking on the little bug icon in the bottom right hand corner of the window. And there's a couple of different panels here, and today we're going to be working with the net panel. And what you can see is the net panel provides information, for example, about the HTTP that's going on behind the scenes when you request a web page. So when you request a web page, in this particular case, we requested the web page simpleform.html using the get method. So we send that HTTP request to the server. In response, the HTTP server sends a response back, which in this case, because it was the same page, it just outputs the same page. Now what you can do is if you select the net panel and select all from the next drop down, or the next menu bar, you can click on the plus sign, and what you can see is there's a couple of different tabs, and the one we're going to use is you can click on is headers. And what this shows is actually information about the request that was sent from your browser to the web server when you submitted the form, and then the response that was sent back. And if we go down to the request header section, and if you click, there's a view source link that you can click on. It's going to show the raw HTTP header, and that's actually what was sent via HTTP to the server. You don't need to be concerned with the details of what's included in this header. There's a lot of information there. We're basically just going to be concerned with the first line, and it's basically the format of the first line of a request header is a method name. In this case, it's get, because we use the get method, followed by the file we were requesting, or the resource we were requesting, which is simpleform.html, and then it also lists the HTTP version number that it's using. However, as you can see, when we submitted the form, the URL is not just simpleform.html, it actually has a question mark with text1 equals Matthew appended to it. And so that's an example of a query string, and as we can see, this allows, using Firebug, it's a way to see what was actually submitted to a script, and you'll find down the road it'll be a useful debugging tool. Now it provides the same information that was shown up here in the window, but it also provides a little more information, and it also has a params tab that will actually show you all of the name value pairs that you submitted via a get. And for example, you can see that we have text1 is a name we submitted, and the value we set it to was Matthew. And so this is an example of using Firebug.